Ruby was just a young girl when the world changed forever. It all began so normally. Children sitting around a dining table laughing, eating, until suddenly, one of the girls collapsed, her eyes glowing blue, and within seconds, she was gone. No one understood what had happened, but Ruby saw it all, her eyes wide with fear, unable to make sense of the chaos. Soon after, news spread like wildfire. There was a deadly virus sweeping across the nation, one that targeted only children. It was called IAAN, a mysterious illness that had already claimed the lives of 90% of the youth population. The ones who survived weren't exactly lucky. They were different now, changed, dangerous. The government and media responded in panic, labeling children by color codes categories based on their abilities: green for intelligence, blue for telekinesis, yellow for electricity manipulation, and the most dangerous, orange and red, so threatening that any child diagnosed in those categories was to be eliminated on the spot. The president himself appeared on national television not as a leader but as a grieving father, saying he too had lost a child to this illness. He urged parents to turn their children into a government facility called CDC, promising they would be safe and healed. Ruby, unaware of her true condition, was celebrating her birthday at home, surrounded by her loving but anxious parents. That night, something inside her shifted. She sleepwalked to her mother's room, touched her hand, and the next morning, everything was different. Her mother didn't even recognize her. Ruby's screams went unanswered as she was locked in a room, and soon, strangers from CDC arrived, dragging her away to a terrifying future. At the camp, Ruby was terrified and alone. Children were examined and categorized. Greens wore green uniforms with gifted logical minds, blues could move objects with sheer will, yellows crackled with electricity. But if a child was orange or red, they never left the exam room alive. When the doctor placed the scanner over Ruby's head and saw the orange alert, he didn't say a word, just reached for a syringe, meant to end her life. But Ruby, instinctively, used her power. Her eyes flared, and she manipulated the doctor's mind, convincing him she was green. From that moment, Ruby had to hide who she truly was. Dressed in a green uniform, she lived in constant fear, surrounded by children who didn't know the truth. 6 years passed. Ruby grew older, but she never fit in. She couldn't complete the tasks expected of a green, struggled to fake intelligence she didn't have, and her odd behavior caught the attention of the guards. They decided to test her further. During a high-frequency tolerance test, something greens should easily handle, Ruby collapsed, unconscious. When she woke, she found herself in a cold medical room with a kind woman standing over her. This was Dr. Kate, but she told Ruby to call her Tech. She spoke gently, explaining how she used to be a social worker and had once failed to save a girl just like Ruby. She promised never to make that mistake again. Ruby listened in silence, unsure whether to trust her. Then there was a knock at the door. Time was up. Dr. Kate scribbled a note and slipped it into Ruby's hand before sending the guard away. The note read, "They know you're orange. I'm your friend. Meet me now." That was all Ruby needed. Alarms blared, red lights lit the halls, and Ruby, with her heart racing, followed Kate into the unknown, taking her first step toward escape, and toward a revolution that would change everything. Ruby, a girl gifted with powerful abilities, finds herself in a world devastated by a mysterious virus named IANN that has wiped out 90% of the children across the country. The survivors are not ordinary diseases. They possess unique powers and are categorized by color: green for intelligence, blue for telekinesis, yellow for electrical control, and the two most dangerous, orange and red, which are considered too risky to keep alive. Ruby, secretly an orange, manages to fake her diagnosis as green and hides her true identity in a government camp. 6 years pass, and Ruby's unusual behavior raises suspicions. During a frequency test, she faints, unlike the real greens, and ends up in the medical room, where a kind doctor named Kate, also known as Dr. B-Tech, examines her and reveals she knows Ruby's secret. She warns Ruby she must escape or she will be killed, and slips her a GPS device, telling her to press it for 3 seconds if they get separated. Ruby, heartbroken that she can never reunite with her parents without risking everything, follows Kate into the escape plane. On the run, they meet a man who hands Ruby a bag of clothes, but when she touches him, her powers activate and she accidentally projects a terrifying vision into his mind, causing him to flee. While changing, Ruby is attacked by a yellow girl named Zoo, who controls electricity, but they quickly reconcile when Ruby pleads for help. Zoo leads her to a blue van where 3 other kids are hiding: Liam, Charles, aka Chubbers, and Zoo herself. Ruby claims to be green, but Chubbs, who is a real green, doubts her story. When a CDC team attacks, Liam uses his blue powers to tear up the ground and help them escape. As they fix their van, Ruby announces she's heading to Salem, Virginia, her hometown. But Liam convinces her it's too dangerous and instead urges her to come with them to a rumored safe haven run by a mysterious teen named Slip Kid, who escaped from 4 camps and built a sanctuary for kids like them. Along their journey, Ruby and Liam grow closer. Ruby reflects on her past and how deeply she still misses her parents. At a hotel, she remembers her childhood pain, and when Liam sees her in a red dress given by Zoo, he flirts shyly. Their bond deepens and Ruby starts trusting them. On the road, they hear a radio message from the president's son, Clancy Gray, K.A. Clancy, claiming he's been cured and all kids can be saved. Chubbs mocks it, while Ruby still feels unsure whom to trust. They stop at an abandoned mall, gather supplies and have fun, but are ambushed by masked teens. Using their powers, Liam lifting objects, Chubbs strategizing, and Zoo's electricity, they overpower the attackers, who reveal they are from Slip Kid's group. Ruby, suspicious, touches one of them and forces him to give up the location of their base through her power of mental manipulation. She and Chubbs later decipher a complex code using frequency language and radio math, finally finding the coordinates to Slip Kid's sanctuary. Excited and hopeful, the 4 friends hit the road once again, beginning a new chapter in their desperate search for safety and truth in a shattered world. As they drive along the scenic Copran's Child route, excitement bubbles through the group, especially for Ruby, whose parents' house lies nearby. Her heart pounds with a mix of joy and fear. Standing outside her old home, memories flood her. Her father not recognizing her last time haunts her, and the thought of reliving that heartbreak is unbearable. Overwhelmed, she retreats into the forest, sobbing until Liam finds her, offering quiet comfort and urging her to rejoin their group. Suddenly, a sorceress from the CDC team appears, launching a brutal attack. Liam is tortured, and another girl is gravely hurt. But Ruby, revealing her orange powers, steps forward and takes control of the witch's mind, saving them. Though shocked, Liam feels no regret, and Charles, always sharp as a green, admits he suspected her true category. They resume their journey, singing and enjoying the moment, but peace doesn't last. Another military ambush halts them. One of the officers recognizes Liam's stone, and another spots Osteo. Joy lights up their faces as they realize they've reached a truly safe place. At Slipcut, they're warmly welcomed by soldiers and escorted inside, where Clancy Gray, the professor's son with immense powers, observes them. Calm and analytical, he identifies each by class and ability. Charles is a green, highly intelligent. Rue is blue, a fierce fighter. Liam is acknowledged for his bravery in rescuing kids in California. And finally Ruby arrives, drawing special attention from Clancy, who reveals they're both orange. After introductions, the group is shown to a room to rest. Later, a party livens the Slipcut grounds. The kids laugh, dance, and mingle with others. Ruby and Liam's bond deepens during a quiet moment by a poster. Unaware, Clancy watches closely, disturbed. Soon, Clancy's darker side begins to show. He isolates Ruby, assigning missions and pulling her closer under the guise of shared power. He confides how he was diagnosed orange, how his father lied, experimented on him, and kept his condition hidden. Despite all, he's still orange. He insists that together they can change everything. No more fear of orange or red. Ruby, touched and eager for purpose, agrees to help. As she spends more time with Clancy, he grooms her to join his elite team, praising her ability to control others, a skill even he lacks. Ruby becomes a quiet force beside him. One day, as Clancy and Ruby stroll through Slipcut, they pass Charles planting a bell pepper plant. He argues with another boy who prefers chili peppers for their calcium. Ruby subtly influences him to agree with Charles. Clancy, amazed, asks how she did it, admitting even he can't pull that off. He takes her to a quiet, meditative place to help her strengthen this power, but it's clear he's also manipulating her. Later, Clancy reveals the truth about her parents, that the night she slept beside her mother, her powers accidentally wiped her parents' memories of her, erasing her existence from their minds. Ruby is crushed, but Clancy calls it a gift, praising her control. Meanwhile, Liam watches all of this from a distance, growing uneasy. His feelings for Ruby deepen, but her closeness to Clancy stings. Ruby, now aware of Liam's emotions, distances herself to avoid hurting him, which only angers him more. Hurt, Liam storms off into the forest. Ruby follows, but loses him. There, she finds Charles sitting alone by a sorrowful riverbank, missing his own parents and wishing for just one chance to speak with them. Ruby needs a laptop to contact Charles, and she turns to Gray for help. However, Gray is secretly sharing information about the number of people in different categories and doesn't want Ruby to see it, so he shuts down the system to hide it. He agrees to give Ruby what she needs, but only if she lets him explore her special ability. Ruby is hesitant, worried that allowing this will let Charles talk to her parents, but eventually she agrees. As Gray starts tapping into Ruby's control powers, he tries to forcefully manipulate her, but Ruby regains her senses, pushes him away, and runs into the forest, crying. Lime is already there and asks Ruby what happened, but she refuses to tell him. When she finally explains how Gray tried to control her, Lime gets furious and storms off. Gray and Lime then plot to escape from this place, waking Charles and others to prepare for their escape, but suddenly, a light zone appears and they are captured again. A guard, seen earlier at the CDC, arrives, but is quickly overpowered by Lime's powers. Meanwhile, Lime blocks out all sounds so no one can hear Charles or Ruby. Gray arrives and says now no one will be able to hear them. It becomes clear that Gray starts to like Ruby, but Lime dislikes Gray and tortures him severely. Lime's injuries become critical, and Ruby pleads with Claim to spare Lime's life, as Lime reveals he wanted to spend his life with her. Helicopters arrive to take them to a center for experiments, but Ruby uses her powers to control a guard and activates the lights, helping them escape. Gray orders his team to capture the children again, leading to chaos as helicopters swarm the area, and the CDC team arrives, causing massive explosions. Lime uses his power to control the air and protect everyone skillfully, but suffers severe injury. Ruby then helps Lime escape and tells Charles and Zoo to rescue as many children as possible, assuring them that as an orange, she can handle any challenges. The three of them set out to help everyone. Meanwhile, a fierce battle begins between Ruby and Gray's forces, as they manipulate others to fight against each other, eventually destroying the opposing force. Now only Gray and Ruby remain, with Gray overpowering Ruby and forcing her to her knees. Ruby sees a helicopter flying in the sky and cleverly uses her control powers to target it on Gray. Unaware of the danger, Gray gets caught in the blast and is seriously injured. Charles rescues Ruby just in time, but he is badly hurt. He urges Ruby to run away and save herself, but she refuses to leave him alone. Suddenly, Ruby finds a GPS device in her pocket, the same one Dr. Tech had given her, explaining that pressing it for 3 seconds would send her location. With no other choice, Ruby presses it, sending a signal to Dr. Tech, who realizes Ruby is in danger and begins to act quickly to help her and the others. Lime arrives there after some time and tells Ruby, "Let's leave this place," but Ruby replies that she has already called for help. Link asks, "Did you call Leo?" Because only Leo can help Lime, and everyone knows that except him. Since Lime had run away earlier, his rules had to be stricter, but he agrees to stay with Ruby and says, "I won't leave you alone here." The three wait together for Leo's arrival, and when Leo comes, they are taken to a cabin where they rest and freshen up. Dr. Tech explains that this place belongs to the League and they use it for safety. Meanwhile, Charles is doing much better in the hospital. Ruby urges them to let Lime leave, but Dr. Tech's friend RQ objects, saying Lime will be missed a lot because he has many powers. Tech reassures that Lime would never kill anyone. We then see Ruby regaining control over her eyes and starting to speak in favor of Lime, who leaves. Dr. Tech stops Ruby from continuing to use her control powers. Then comes a very touching and beautifully crafted scene where Ruby begins erasing memories from Mariam's mind. Mariam remembers her past, how she used to play badminton, spend time in prayer, and all the moments spent with her loved ones. Ruby removes these memories gently, while Dr. Tech arrives and hands Lime his belongings, surprised that Leaf is allowing him to leave. Ruby picks up the things and tells Lime, "If the night changes, you must leave this place." So Lime departs. Ruby reminds everyone, "You taught me that we cannot always depend on each other, we have to help ourselves." With this, everything starts to improve at the hospital. In the final part of the story, we see Gray, the president's son, arriving there and rebuilding his team. Dr. Tech and Ruby join forces to fight this battle together. Ruby marks her forehead with an orange-colored sign and refuses to categorize people anymore. Wearing a different uniform, she places a mark on everyone's hand that reveals their category. In this way, Ruby and Dr. Tech form a new group, and the movie ends on this hopeful note. This was a very different movie that showed how people were judged and misused based on categories created by a virus, and among all, Ruby stood out as the bravest and most powerful character, inspiring us through the story.